I had sitting in the middle of the table, trying to decide whether I gave the keys back to them and we walked away or we worked through it. And the toughest time I had was when that happened for the first time, is when we couldn't pay our contractors, our creditors. Every one of the 20 or so creditors that we were behind, after having a great track record and letting them know that, hey, we're stuck. And out of the 20 or so, every one of them said, Paul, we're going to stick by you. It was one of the hardest days in my life.
Thinking about building or renovating? Or maybe you are already knee-deep in a project now. Are you feeling unsure of which steps to take and if you are making the right calls? You're not alone. Welcome to Builders Beyond Borders, the podcast where experienced Aussie builders share real stories, insider tips, and practical advice so you can build with confidence, avoid costly mistakes, and actually enjoy the journey. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Builders Beyond Borders. Today on the podcast, we're joined by a very special guest and a good friend of ours. He's someone we've had the privilege of knowing through our business coaching group, Builders Business Black Belt. And over the years, we've seen firsthand the wisdom, steadiness and experience that he brings to both business and to life. He's spent decades in the building industry, building not just successful projects and a highly respected company, Fair Dinkum Builds, but also a reputation that lasts. He's seen the highs, the challenges, the changes in the industry, and now, having recently retired, he brings a perspective that only comes from a lifetime of doing the work. This conversation is not about business success. It's about leadership, resilience, lessons learnt the hard way, what really matters in the long run, and what the next generation of builders can take from someone who's truly lived it. We're really grateful to have him here, not just as someone we respect professionally, but as a mate. Welcome to Builders Beyond Borders, OFB, Paulie Purdon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shannon and Paul. It's a real pleasure to be here.
To kick us off, when you look back at your career as a whole, what are you most proud of?
Probably resilience, to keep coming back through starting off as a joiner wanting to go out in the big wide world of just being a self-employed carpenter and having no idea of what I was going to do, having no idea of how to do it, except what I've been taught in my apprenticeship, and the ups and downs, and being able to continue to keep coming back after the bad times.
What do you believe made your company genuinely successful?
Really understanding and unpacking who our A-class customer was. Now, that took some time as well. And then listening to them, listening to what they really wanted, and then creating a business centered around that.
I think we're joined by Paul from Independent Building Solutions in Canberra as well, from our podcast group. And I think, Paul, we could probably resonate with that as well, couldn't we? Like just finding the right clients that fit in. And it's not just an overnight job. It's something that you really have to master and perfect over the years.
It's certainly the biggest challenge. I think dealing with people is the biggest challenge of any business, really, regardless of what you do, isn't it? The work's really not the hard part at all. It's getting your mind in the right place and being able to deal with all the curved balls and deal with all the people, and getting that sort of stuff sorted it's taken me a lifetime too, Paul. And I don't know that I've even got there yet. So it's a constant work in progress, isn't it?
100%. And we don't learn any of that in our apprenticeship, do we? We just don't learn how to deal with customers. It's all about putting the nails into the wood or whatever,
Running a build companies, yeah, it's certainly different to being a carpenter. What did you learn about leading tradespeople over the years?
Like all humans, but these are supposedly adults, they all acted like kids sometimes, and you just had to make sure that you followed them up nearly every bloody day, pardon my French, but it was just quite challenging in the early days where you're talking man to man in most cases, and it's like, yes, I'm going to do that, and you turn up when the job was supposed to be done and they hadn't done it, and you find out that, oh no, I had something else that came up. The lack of communication was one of those things as well, and that was in the early days. That was really quite difficult to get my head around.
What about teaching people something, so maybe a technical skill as you're teaching apprentices or things like that, and try to learn yourself to deliver it in a different way if they don't do it how you described it, and finding that really like kind of shocking that I didn't say it that way.
No, I think I understand what you're saying. And look, it's really one of those things. Once again, I go back to the heaps of children that we've got in our family and grandchildren that some are all are adults now too. Is that one of the things I learnt was that when we agreed that this was the way we were going to do something, is that we had to get the person, the apprentice or whatever, to repeat it back to us. And that took some time too. And it was like, it sounded a bit childish, but hey, if you're not going to do it properly, and remember, we've got to treat you like a child sometimes. And so having that person repeat it back, I could go away going, okay, at least I'm hoping that the job will get done right. And look, as I said, back in the early days, I had really no idea how to educate people, how to coach a team, how to find a team. In the early days, I used to check if they had a pulse, and if they had a pulse, I'd hire them because I just didn't know how to pick the right person.
And that's a really important point that you make about being a coach as well, and not a leader. That's something that we are learning at the moment as well, through your experience and through Mick talking to us about approaching it as though you're a coach of a footy team, and that the guys are much more receptive of that as it being leader and team member kind of thing. So that's, we're so early in the stages of learning how to coach people.
And I think understanding too, when you find the right person and you go, and it's like, oh my goodness, I've found someone that, I don't have to remind someone to do. And in some cases, like the young lady I've met in your office, that's looking after you, is that most of the time she can do things better than you, and now I have team members that, well, they tell me every day, to be honest, that they can do things better than me, and I'm happy with that.
It is an eye-opening thing, but if you're open to it and receptive to it, it can be a really valuable and powerful thing in your business to have other people coming in, whether younger, like I'm finding younger with our wonderful Talisha here, who just at the speed of light can do things that I was doing so regimented, like this is the way I do it. I've done it for 15 years like this. This is the way it's done. And for her and for Talisha to come in and go, oh, that's on a kind of rework, and that's this, and what if we did it this way? Like, it's just so inspiring to have other people.
And refreshing too, isn't it, to have another set of eyes for someone that actually cares about what they do because they love being with you. And that's all a testament to how you're building your team and how you care for your team.
Yeah.
And that needs to be congratulated, because the thing is, all we ever want as business owners is to have a team that respect each other, respect the business owner, but more importantly, as the business owner, to be able to give back to our team the care and the love and the support and the freedom to make mistakes, the freedom to grow and to listen to some of the ideas that they may have in terms of extra learning. It's so important.
Absolutely. Tell us about a project you'll never forget and why. What comes to your mind first up when you think about a classic project that you've done?
Dear, oh dear. How many have I got this running through my mind right now? Well, let me tell you about something. My dear father, who's 90 now, he started working for me when he was 60. Just an amazing man, turned up every day, and he used to be our gopher. So he used to do everything. He used to clean up the sites. He used to put all our insulation in back in the day when it was more cost effective to have a couple of labourers at $15 an hour. And I don't know who will work for that sort of rates now. But $12 back then meant something. Now it's probably worth about $40 an hour now. But I can remember we did this beautiful polished timber floor for a job, all hand-laid tongue and groove. The original tongue and groove wasn't an overlay, so it was 19 mil board. So I was doing a handover with the customer, and we were walking through the kitchen, living, dining, and in this big dining area where all this polished timber floor was, I just happened to get the light shining through the window, and there was all these perpendicular cuts in the polished timber floor that had come through, and there was hundreds of them. And I was so embarrassed because I'd been there before, but, either later in the day when the lights were coming through, that, didn't see them. And I'm thinking, well, what do I do now? Because the customers are here. They're so happy with this house. and I had to. I had to fess up. I said, look, I've just found something that I'm not happy with, and I showed them. They were horrified, just as horrified as me. We'll get it fixed. It's not a problem. We had it, but it's going to take another week. So liquidated damages, I had to pay, whatever that was back then, $150 a week, because they were due to move in that weekend. And they were happy. And I was trying to figure out how the bloody hell these cuts had gone through the bloody into the floor. Anyway, it just dawned on me. And I said to the old man, I said, this is the problem I've got in all these cuts. He said, oh, yeah, that's where we were cutting the insulation with our Stanley knives there. We were just cutting it to fit into the bloody walls. And
On the flooring.
yeah, and I said, Dad, I said, if you weren't my father, I said, you'd have been gone. I said, you know what it's cost me? Back then it was about $4,000, I think, to have the floors re-sanded all the way back.
Oh, no.
My dear father had job, right? He thought he'd done a great job putting all the insulation in, and
Yeah, so proud of his work and
my goodness. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I wasn't proud of it, right? But I mean, there was just one that stuck with me first thing, and it was years and years ago, right? Because he's 90 now, so it would have been 25 years, 30 years ago, probably.
yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. It's just, yeah. I think some stories, and we've all got them, it's just that we're all human, aren't we? Like it's just to think you're just doing the best job, and something so simple can create such a fuss. That's really cool.
Lucky I had great clients, they could see it, but I mean, there's plenty of times where I've caught electricians in particular, standing on brand new kitchen benches to put the light in above the kitchen, and it's like tradies that should know better, but just take the liberties, and things like that. And where their benches have got to be replaced because of all the scratches, because they've walked through a finished house with their boots on, and they've got gravel in their boots. And I mean, I'm pretty sure most builders would have had that issue before. And it's about how we deal with it, right? And it's as frustrating and challenging and costly as it is, it's about how we deal with it. I remember I had split bins on site on every job, and renderers. I remember one time there, the renderers would have all these hot lunches, and they'd sit down in the garage of these new houses, and they'd have their hot lunches, and they would leave their rubbish and half-eaten lunches about 3 metres away from the skip bin, and little challenges like that. So dear old Dad would go and clean it all up. Anyway, I'd send the bill off to the renderer, and of course, all hell broke loose. What's the bill for? And I told him, because the boys never did it again. But it's all about the education and the challenge. I don't even know why I'm thinking about all these little things that have caused me grief, because it's not the question. Well, but it was always little challenges.
Like that goes back to, having respect, and you see subbies come and go, and you see team members come and go. As long as you've got that foundational respect.
Yeah, look, 100%. And I think when, we won quite a lot of awards for some of the houses we built, with the annual awards. We won display home awards and different houses that we built up to certain categories. We got into the Australian award system there. Obviously, we were up against a lot of multi-million dollar houses, and, but it was a great opportunity, and we were quite proud of the fact that we'd actually, won state awards for some of the quality of the work that we'd done. And it was, so that was terrific.
It's excellent. And it's not just about the work, as you say. It's not about banging the nails in. It's about what you've built, that whole culture and foundation of that business is more than just the actual work itself. Be it a good quality, it's a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, and going further than that, it's also having a reputation of paying on time. We always pride ourselves, and it wasn't always easy to pay our subbies on time and our suppliers on time. All our creditors were paid up to date. And there were times where, my wife and I wouldn't pay ourselves so that we could do that, so we could pay others. And I'm sure, that some difficult challenges that we face, but, we always pride ourselves on that.
Having those memories, those painful memories, especially when it comes to cash and financial stuff, do you think that set you up for being appreciative when things got better?
Oh, 100% it did, because I remember having my financial advisor, not financial advisor, yes, my financial advisor, my finance broker, who's my brother-in-law, my accountant, at a meeting in our office twice over my 50 years, and the keys to everything I had sitting in the middle of the table, trying to decide whether I gave the keys back to them and we walked away, or we worked through it. And the toughest time I had was when that happened for the first time, is when we couldn't pay our contractors, our creditors. I remember quite distinctly ringing every one of the 20 or so creditors that we were behind, after having a great track record, and then letting them know that, hey, we're stuck. And out of the 20 or so, every one of them said, Paul, we're going to stick by you. That was one of the hardest days of my life. And that was after I'd made the decision to actually, no, we're going to work through this, because I had this terrible feeling of guilt that if I walked away, that was the easy way out. And so I decided to put a plan in place with the help of those three great men and the accountant that I had at the time. He came in daily, every morning before he started his day, and we put a plan together on a day-to-day basis of what we were going to do, who we were going to call, and how we were going to get out of it. And it meant coming up with new ideas, and it's incredible. I think that, when you're suffering so much pain, how your imagination seems to take over, and you design new ways of doing business and new ways of being able to do business in such a way that we can pull ourselves out of it. And it was just like I reinvented myself and reinvented ways we traded with certain businesses. It was a challenge, and I'm pretty sure most businesses have been through something similar.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing with everyone, isn't it? It's managing finance. I mean, how often are we hearing these stories about companies going broke or left, right, and centre? So it's a big issue. So yeah, and I mean, if you've got good guys, you've got to look after them too. That's always going to come back to you down the track, as it has, like you say, and just don't give up. So there's a good, pretty good lesson in all that.
There absolutely is, because it's very confronting, and it comes and goes, and it can come around once, but it can revisit again, and sometimes things beyond your control that are putting the pressure on. And
100%. And the thing is, if you haven't had the education, which I didn't do, which I haven't, and as I said earlier, you don't learn a lot of this stuff during your apprenticeship, how to operate a business and build team and whatever, and cash flow, which is still missing, I think, today, is that you just keep heading in the direction you think, and there's no education there, nothing to support you, no one to support you. It's not like, that's why, being a member of the Builders Business Black Belt, is so important, to all of the young building business entities out there. Or it doesn't have to be that particular group, but it can be groups like that, that have this holistic approach, is so important.
who were the people that have shaped you most in your career?
Well, I'll go to Mick from Builders Business Black Belt. He opened my eyes 21 years ago or thereabouts, as I was searching for a coach or to be coached, or to at least there's got to be someone out there, or a body of people out there that can help me with the ideas that I have, because I knew in my own mind that there's got to be more than me just turning up 7 days a week and just paying the bills. Someone like that opened my eyes to what I hated to do at school, which is to read. And then we started on this journey of reading informative books. And then the more I started to learn, the more I knew I needed to learn, and then I just soaked it up like a sponge. I was involved previous to that with a building franchise, one of the inaugural franchises in Australia, led by the owner-operator, who was an incredibly successful builder in Victoria. That was the start, I believe. This is before Builders Business Black Belt, but it opened my eyes to what could be possible in terms of getting me off the tools to helping me manage my business using other labour. So forever grateful for him. He's since passed away, but the contacts that I had within that franchise, there's quite a few of them now after 20, maybe 30 years now, that I still communicate with. Got involved with the shed industry, as you know now, for the last 25-ish years. The contacts and the communication that I've had, and the learning and understanding I've had through that process, along with what we're learning with the Builders Business Black Belt, has just helped me immensely. And one of the greatest things I've learned is to continue to ask questions. What's next? I've learned this, but what's next? What's next? How do I do this better? So it's been like a snowball, I guess, and it's just evolving, and you just keep growing and growing and growing. To the point now, as you know, that I've spent a couple of years with a sports psychologist unpacking my purpose, which over the last few years is what I've been thinking about: is who am I? Or there's got to be more than this for me, just being a business owner. Who am I really? And what is my true purpose in life? And now unpacking that and understanding now what my purpose is, it sheds a light on all the things I've been doing now for the last 25 or 30 years, and it's the caring nature. It's wanting to do the old grandma hug, wrapping my arms around team members, clients, or whoever it is, family members, and understanding that. And then how can I leverage off that moving forward to life after, full-time work?
I've witnessed it in my dad, who ran a very successful cleaning company for the last 20 years, and just finding his own identity outside of the business continues to be an absolute struggle. Have you found it an easy thing to do, or have you been lost along the way? Like, what does that look like?
Before I went to the sports psychologist and joined his group, he was at a Zoom meeting with some other guys that we were doing regular Zoom meetings on a Monday night, and Scotty Carson and there are other boys that do that. And Jerome Lamarck was the sports psychologist, was a special guest speaker, and it's just like it clicked. That's the man. I want to do more with him. And of course, I've reached out to him, and then joined him for 2 years, and we slowly unpacked, along with other men, the journey of finding your true purpose, and your philosophy. So that would have been 3 or 4 years ago now, I guess, and we've introduced Jerome into the Builders group a bit more, and there's a few black belt members that have joined. I hope, Paul, you're part of Jerome's group. I think you joined just after I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been working with him for 12 months or so now. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just a remarkable, very intelligent, but also very funny man too. So, it's just good to be able to, he makes you feel very, very welcome. Unlike your dad, Shannon, I don't have any problems with who I am now, but I went through that on purpose, that process with Jerome, to help me unpack it. And I think the reason I did that is because of the last 20 odd years of continual learning, is that now if I'm stuck, I look for someone or something that I can either read, or I start asking questions, because I know that it's worked in the past. I also know that we need to continue to grow. We need to continue to learn, no matter what it is that we're doing. And it can be diet, exercise, it can be what's going on up here. As I just mentioned, it's this holistic approach to the being that we are. Whether we're religious or not is relevant. If we don't do that, I liken it to me sitting in a rocking chair with a crocheted rug over the top of me with a bit of dribble hanging out of my mouth, and that's it, life after 50 years. And you just stop. And, I've seen men do that I've worked with in the early days as I was growing up, guys that are retired, and within 18 months they've passed away, and you go to their funeral. It's not for me.
Yeah, I'm at that point too. Like, I don't really want to have an exit plan, and I don't really want one, because I just have seen a lot of that sort of thing over the years. And I think if you've got a business that's, can manage itself fairly well, and you've got a good team, there's no reason why you can't just continue on indefinitely. And I get enough time off whenever I want it, get to go away or have a day off anytime I want. So why would you leave that? I think it's more beneficial to stay with it.
Yeah, and that's great, Paul. And I think that's where I'm at right now. So I've actually I've made it official last year that I was only going to come in 2 days a week, and we're working through. This was the test year for that. So here we are now. The start of we've been through the first quarter of that, and there's been a few teething problems. I'm not really problems, but little things that we can sort through. I had a 2.5 hour meeting with my leadership team yesterday about some of the things that we've experienced in this first quarter that could be made better. And that was amazing. And I just sat there and watched my team and how they worked closely together and they cared about each other, and they wanted things to be better, and they were coming up with strategies I was writing notes, and we agreed to certain things that we were going to implement today. And the team are doing it on their own because I'm not there. And they're going to start implementing some of those things. And it's going to be a slow burn because they want it all fixed today. And I said, we don't have to fix it today. Let's work on some, see how that goes, and then we'll continue to introduce things. So I get a buzz out of that and watching them and helping them grow. And I think that's what you were saying, Paul, is that why would I want to leave the business, at all, if that makes sense? Because it's something that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I've certainly built up over many, many years. Don't necessarily want to see it go. And of course, I love my team. I really do love and care for them, and I want to see them, grow as people as well. And the benefits of that are, as you just said, you can take any amount of time off you want, and you still have the same income coming in. Happy days.
It's like it's a change of role, isn't it? It's like you become an overseer, but you're still a contributor in a different kind of sense. You're not that sounding board as such for everything, for the be all and end all. You're just there as a part of the success and of the team.
I think it's selfish of me not to keep all I've learnt in 50 years to myself. Do you know what I mean? It's like very selfish. Why wouldn't I want to, with my experience, be able to help where I can and to put something back into these young people? And if they can get to a point where they have found their own philosophy and their purpose in time, then they can experience what I'm experiencing right now. And, in terms of legacy, if you like, that would be unbelievable, isn't it? When I'm long gone and those team members are saying, well, I'm where I am because Paul gave me the love and care and support to get me where I am. And that includes our kids and grandkids as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible offering, and no one besides a person like yourself can offer such experience, guidance, the coaching and the love. You're an incredible man. Really grateful for having you on our podcast today and for sharing your insights and your experience and just your wealth of knowledge and your kind heart. So thank you so much for being here today, Paul. Thanks for being here, Paul, as well, the Paul Show, the two Pauls. It's been incredible.
Thanks for tuning in to Builders Beyond Borders. If today's episode helped you feel more prepared, clearer, or more confident, share it with a mate who's planning their own build or reno. Got a question about building, renovating, or working with tradies? Send it our way. We might cover it in a future episode. And don't forget to hit follow or subscribe so you never miss the real stories, practical tips, and builder insights we've got coming your way. Everything shared on this podcast is based on our experiences and those of our guests. It's general info only. Any reliance on the information provided is done at your own risk.